Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command, Adegweke Fayode says the command will not tolerate the disruption of commercial activities during the planned protest in the state. The Nigerian Labour Congress NLC declared a two-day nationwide protest over the economic hardship in the country. The protest is billed to take place on Tuesday, and the Department of State Services (DSS) had called on the NLC to shun the protest, while the federal government says the planned demonstration is in contempt of a court order restraining the union from embarking on industrial action. Benjamin Hundeyin, a Lagos police spokesperson, said protesters that infringe on the rights of other Nigerians will be punished. The Lagos police spokesperson asked residents to proceed on their lawful duties without fear of harassment, adding that security assets have been deployed for safety. Frank Tietie, lawyer on the Rise analyst, is here to look at the face-off between the NLC and the federal government. Frank, thank you for coming to Newsnight.
My pleasure, as always.
Now, you know, one would say that when issues of law become a contention, you then begin to think that the interpreters, the legal practitioners attend different law schools, you know. So make us understand, if there is a subsisting court order restraining the NLC from protesting.
I think it's very difficult to fault Femi Falana SAN on this matter. Is later in reply to the Honorable Attorney General Federation that the NLC will not be in breach of any order of court restraining him from going on this protest. He's quite correct. There are a lot of distinctions to be made. There's a distinction between a strike and industrial action and the right to protest, which is a combined right under Section 39, which gives the right to express one's opinion, and then Section 40, which also gives the right to any Nigerian to gather in terms of a peaceful assembly for any purpose. Now, we must understand the Nigerian workers here, members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, are first of all citizens of this country before they are workers. And so they are the right to exercise you know, I mean, the fact that they can go on a peaceful assembly cannot be, you know, extinguished by any other court. It's not. It's fundamental. It's under Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's as if we don't have any more country. We don't have a country anymore if you say that the members of the Nigerian Labour Congress cannot go on a protest. Now, it's a very smart move, a smart way to circumvent any subsisting order of court that restrains the Nigerian Labour Congress, which I doubt, from embarking on strike or industrial action. Now, the fact that members of the NLC want to go out in the street and express their opinion about the hardship, about the state of insecurity in this country, it's fundamental, it's constitutional, it's something that they are entitled to. Now, in that case, they are doing that as in exercise of their civil and political right, and nothing can, you know, derogate from that kind of right.
Now, Frank, could it be that after the federal government had tried every avenue to broker a truce, quote unquote, with the NLC and hadn't been so successful, could it then be that the federal government is now trying to pocket the NLC and handicap the union? Is that
not quite. You see,
be the case?
See, sometimes it appears to labor leaders and Nigerian civil society leaders in general that maybe the president is deaf to their yearnings and aspiration. And it takes some of these protests for them to drive home their point. And these protests can actually take place in the court on the day of whatever hearing. There's nothing wrong about that. Nothing at all. Now, if you look at the threat by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, it still remains a threat. It doesn't make it contemptuous. It is threatening that he will initiate contempt proceedings. According to the letter written by Femi Falana SAN, they had attempted, you know, contempt proceedings before, which they found to be baseless and withdrew it. So there is nothing. The federal government cannot in any way attempt to pocket labor. For what? What reason? It is in the interests of Nigerians that labor goes out to really drive home the point to the Nigerian government and its partners that things are not okay. Let me tell you something. The issues are very many. Whether it has to do first with the beating of Joe Ajero in Imo State, or the removal of fuel subsidy, or the state of insecurity, and then the current untold hardship Nigerians are going through. Which court will now tell Nigerian citizens not to let the president know that things are bad, or not to express their feelings? That is fundamentally wrong. Nigerians have that right.
Yet again, Nigerians have that right. Yet again, the president had always been an activist himself before he became the president, so why then does it look like he's having a hard time reaching a compromise with the Labour?
Well, it's a matter of naira and kobo, and again, it's many times actions by Labour are viewed to be more political than industrial in nature. This particular one is being feared because it does put the government in a bad light. Things are not quite okay now. This is a government that promised so much, and in a short time things are tumbling down, and we're in a state of topsy-turvydom because of the economy that has run askew. And so things, it will now rub it in on the government. The government somehow is afraid. Before Labour is going on this planned protest, we've seen series of protests against hunger in about 5 states of the federation, and that's enough alarm to the government. So if organized Labour that is known to have peaceful protests across over the years, Labour, and that's why I find the veiled threat by the Lagos Police Command that's unnecessary, and because policemen too are bearing the hardship. Even judges are going through this hardship. It will not be long before you hear that judges are on the street also going on strike against the state of affairs. So the truth about it is that it's the right of Labour, and Labour is in the right direction, and with a very smart lawyer like Femi Falana, who has successfully advised them to circumvent any illegality when it has to do with strike action, an industrial action, or a breach of peace or law and order. So I think that we should not we cry when cry wolf this much ado about nothing. Labour has a right on the 27th, on 28th. They can go on the street peacefully and then let the whole world know that things are not quite okay in this country.
Okay, so in the event that Labour then goes on strike or protests, as they've made clear, what do you see coming out of this? Because time and again, hang on a little. Time and again, Labour has protested, and yet many times we don't really see concrete results.
That's true, because
so what do you see coming out of this?
Protests are fast losing their relevance, right?
Yeah.
And again, we hear the Honourable Attorney General of the Federation warning and urging Labour to obey court orders. In fact, he needs to look inward, because the successive governments that we've had in this country, federal governments, have had a culture of disobedience to court orders. It is not only when court orders favor them that they should be urging people to obey court orders. But again, you talk about protest. What would protest amount to? But I tell you, it's political. It's more political than being a labor relations issue. And somehow, it's really, if the citizens of this country actually hold the sovereignty of this country, and Labour is painting the government really, really black because it's unable to carry out its responsibilities under the Constitution, and then again it fails. I mean, it creates the impression that there's a government in place that does not honor its own agreements. That's very bad, visual for the government. It's bad, signpost for the government. Now, in that case, what the government must do is not making spirited efforts to placate Labour, but simply to allow Labour to go on. Let the police people, the policemen and the rest of them give protection to Labour, and let us at this time, first of all, acknowledge that Nigeria is in trouble. We have a problem, and that we must all come together to solve it. Look, the members of the working class, I'm talking about the NLC, if they don't have money to feed their children, would they come to work? If they can't even afford ordinary transport, would they come to work? So they should be able to let Nigerians know, and there's absolutely nothing, constitutionally, legally, statutorily, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Labour can proceed on that protest on the 27th.
Very quickly, as we try to round this up, you just said that the protests many times are political.
They're political and they've lacked relevance.
Okay, so
many times they are usually sponsored or they are driven by interest. personal interest. In this case, Labour has its own interests. It's you know, they want a minimum wage that wants to be increased and all that, and then promises for their own selves that the government is not fulfilling. So actually, when you look deeply, it's all about Labour, not necessarily about the entire Nigeria. But with regards to the fact whether they have the right or not to embark on that protest, absolutely they have the right to be there, and the police must protect them.
Going by your claims now or your submission, does that then mean that the leadership of Labour has compromised?
No, not at all. I don't think so. We cannot. In fact, I see a lot of consistency. Joe Ajaero, in his nature, he enjoys being beaten up. He enjoys being in the forefront of saying that he's making a lot of sacrifices for Nigerian Labour members of Nigerian Labour Congress. He will not do such a thing. But what I want to let you know is that this is about every individual Nigerian worker. The government cannot think of arresting every worker because it goes. I mean, the worker went on went to the street on the 27th and 28th to protest. He cannot do that. The court cannot enforce such. He cannot even entertain such an action or such an application by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. I do not think Labour has been pocketed. Rather, Labour will save face if it indeed goes on that protest by making Nigerians to know that yes, things are not okay, and that the government cannot pocket it with all the several committees that it has set up, with all the many promises that it has made that it has not kept. Nigerians should have a feeling that there is still a group that can identify with the reality that things are not in order, and NLC must therefore be consistent. If it fails to go on that strike on the 27th, I doubt if Joe Ajaero can still ever save his face as a Labour leader in this country.
Okay, I get your point, Frank. But my concern now is, let's get it very clear. You just said that the protests have almost lost their relevance.
As a culture.
As a culture. So how then would this particular protest make any difference?
Hoping it's about the president, whether he's listening.
We hope the president listens.